Hey everyone, Ryan Casper Cook here, back with part 3 of the xLights Around the World Greatest Showman sequence that we've been working on mapping to our homes. On this video, I'm just going to cover the basics of the matrices and the singing faces. So at this point, you should have already watched video 2 and video 1. Video 1 was editing your audio file and getting that ready to use in your sequence. Video 2 was the basics of mapping just normal elements without matrices, P10s, or singing faces. And both of those you should be able to find a link in the description of this video. If you have not watched those already, you're going to want to watch those first and before you move on to this video, as we will fast forward through some of the stuff I've already talked about. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm gonna start with matrices, and I want to show you how to the best method for that I've found for modeling and copying over the matrices to your display, or P10s. So I'm gonna go ahead and just open up real quick the Greatest Show demo template that I created for everyone. This is my house. Let me change this. Alright, so in the demo layout here, you'll see we have a few different components for the matrices and singing faces. We have a P10 panel, matrix 1, and matrix 2. All three of these are independent from one another. You can choose one, both. You could put a P10 on the effects from the P10 will work just fine on a matrix. And a matrix effects will work just fine on a P10. So it's completely interchangeable. You can choose, and there's 3 different versions to choose from in this sequence. If you have 3 panels, you can use all 3. If you have 1 panel, choose one of them. If you've got 6 panels, choose whichever ones you want, double up on them, map however you want to your panels. On the singing faces, we have 2 versions of matrix singing faces. We also have the singing bulbs. There's 4 of those here. So if you have singing bulbs in your display, you can map those onto your singing bulbs. And then we also have the singing faces on the tree as well. So we have, 3 matrix versions of the singing faces. And you can, again, they're interchangeable. You could use this version from matrix 1 for singing faces. You could use that on your tree. You could use the tree on your matrix. I mean, you can pick and choose which ones you want to put them on. So now that we've kind of defined the different matrices and singing faces that are in the demo layout, we're going to want to map those over to our own layout. So let me go back, and I'm going to open up my personal house, my xLights house. And we've already gone through groupings. We've talked about that. You need to have an all-house model. That's everything in your show. And you also need to have a house only without yard model. Those are the 2 important ones you got to make sure you have. The matrix and matrices, your P10s, and your megatree all need to be sequenced at the element level, not in a group level. So we've covered that in the last video. You should understand that by now. So I've already got everything ready to go. I'm just going to go over to my sequencer and get this mapped real quick. So I'm going to create a new sequence, a musical. I've already got my edited audio file in my show directory. I'm going to choose 20 frames for quicker rendering. I'm going to not start with any models. And I'm going to go ahead and add my models in. So I am going to have my all house, my C9s, my outlines. I'm not going to use my group of matrices because I want them on the model level, not the group level. So I'm going to skip those and add those on the model level below. I got my arches, my candy canes, my snowflakes, my fire sticks. Same thing with my mega tree and star. They're combined as one group here. I'm going to add those individually because the mega tree needs to be on the model level. I've got my mini trees, and I've got my all house, which does not have the yard in it. Now I want to add my gift boxes, my mega tree star, and my window matrices. And I've got 7 of them, but I know in my display the big ones are the only ones I want to put stuff on, which are 1, 2, and 3. 4 is a small one, 5 is my garage, and 6 is going to be my faces. So for right now, I'm just going to throw them all in there. And I'm going to rearrange real quick. I know I want my house without the yard on top. I want my entire house below that. Then the rest can be groups and models however you want. So I've got that part done. I want to go ahead and save this sequence. I've already got the greatest show in here from my previous tutorial. I'm just going to overwrite that one. And now I want to map. I'm going to go to Import, Import Effects. I'm going to import effects from the greatest show folder. And now I want to map. So in this case, I am going to be putting some singing faces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually import all of these timings. And now we're going to do whole house goes to all house. Try to get through this as quick as possible here. Actually, I've got a better idea. I'm going to load my mapping that I did earlier, because that already has all this in here. Voila. The only thing it doesn't have is the matrices. So if I go back down to my matrix, so I know the P10 is in the middle on the demo. I'm going to set that up on my middle matrix on my house. I think it would look best there. And then I've got matrix 1 and matrix 2, which I'm going to pop over on my 1, 2, and 3. I've also already set up matrix 6 for singing faces, and that has to be done in the layout area. I'm going to backtrack to that in a little bit here and show you how I did that, and there's a couple ways you can do that. But I'm going to go ahead and add in singing faces matrix 1 onto that matrix. Now if I wanted to do the singing faces on the tree, I could do that as well. I would put that on my mega tree right here. Instead of mega tree 1, I would put the singing faces. But I'd also have to set up my mega tree in the layout screen for those singing faces. In this case, I don't want that on my show in particular, so I'm going to still stick with the first mega tree effect without singing faces. And I'll do another demo on another home here shortly with singing faces on the mega tree. Alright, so I should have everything mapped properly. I'm going to go ahead and save this mapping. I'm just going to overwrite the one I already have because I've got it good and where I want it now. I'm going to click OK. And now you'll see everything got imported. We got all of our singing faces. I probably didn't need all of these. I forget which ones I need. For simplicity, I just throw them all in there. I'd rather have them than not have them. Everything else got imported the way I wanted it. So I'm going to go ahead and save it, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, now that we're all saved and rendered up, let's take a look and see what it looks like. Let me go and pull up my preview screen here.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
Okay, great. So everything mapped up perfectly, exactly how I wanted it to, and the singing faces showed on the matrix I wanted to put it on. Now you can see I got the elephant, which was originally the P10 panel. I put that on this matrix, and this was matrix 1 from the demo, matrix 3 from the demo, I'm sorry, matrix 2 from the demo. So everything mapped up exactly how I envisioned it mapping on my house, so it worked out great. So now for the singing faces portion, one thing I want to show you is in the layout screen where you're going to want to define where those singing faces are incorporated. When you originally unpackaged the Greatest Showman folder, there is a folder within called Faces, and that has all of the faces that we received as a sample for this project. So those are included for you. Along with that, of course, are the the lyric tracks. Those are also included in the sequence. So you can feel free to use your own faces, use the faces that were included, do whatever you would like with those. But bottom line is, in order to get those working, what you need to do within your layout screen is either your matrix, your P10, or your megatree. You need to define where those face images are located. So in order to define the singing faces in your layout screen, within the properties of that model, you'll find the faces where you need to edit and define the location of each image file. If it did not already automatically link for you, you will need to define individually where all these are located. The longer method of doing this is you can double click on each of these, and you can actually go in to your folder, the sample folder, and it'll have all of them in there for you. So you're going to want to go in and link those up one by one. So an example on this one, we're working on Anne, the mouth AI, eyes open. So if I go to my faces folder, there's Anne, and there's AI, eyes open. So that's the link to that file. And so on and so forth. So you got to do those for each character you're planning on using. And in this instance, there's 4 on this matrix. So you're going to want to make sure those are all linked properly. Now there is another way method you can do this. You can, for more advanced users, if you want, you can open up the XML file. And when you open up that XML file, you can do a find and replace rule and find the location. So if I open up my RGB effects file, you'll see right in the top, you'll start with your singing faces, and this shows where the location is. In this case, it's D, Dropbox, Greatest Showman, / faces, Tom Thumb. So I know if this was on my desktop, for example, I know that I would need to change the file location from D Dropbox to C, user's desktop, change the correct path, and you can, easily do that in a find and replace rule and edit it that way. However, that's a more advanced method of doing it. I wouldn't recommend that. If you don't know what you're doing, do not touch your XML file. It's very easy that you could damage it, and that wouldn't be good. So only do that if you're an advanced user. Otherwise, go through one at a time, link the file where it should be, each character, so on and so forth. And once you have it all linked properly, it should link up on your sequence, no problem. So now that we have that example on my personal home, next thing I want to do is show you another home as another sample on how I would map to that house. So let me close this one down. I'm going to go ahead and change this over, In this instance, I have Russell's house here, and we're going to do a singing face on his mega tree, and I'm going to show you another avenue, kind of another trick and way to do it if you'd like. So we're going to go ahead and select his house. So here's Russell's layout. Okay, so on Russell's layout here, you'll see that if we go through, I'm going to set his up and map it from the beginning here, and we'll see what he has for groups already in place and if there's anything else we need to add to make this work with the Showman file. So we have arches, we have candy canes, snowflakes, we have, it looks like, mini tree stars, all the mini trees and stars combined. He's got vertical, we got outlines, we got the mega tree and star, which I'll do individually. We have a whole house, no mega or screens, and whole house without matrices. So the only thing I see he's missing from the group level is a whole house without the yard. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in right now. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now in this case, I've already gone in and set this up for Singing Faces already. I went ahead into Faces, and I went and linked all of this up already. So we are all ready to go. Alright, so let's go over to our sequencer and create a new musical sequence. I already have the edited audio file in the folder, 20 frames. I'm going to do no models, and I'm going to edit display elements to add the models I want to map. So I'm going to map his arches, candy canes, snowflakes. I'm going to do his mini tree and stars together. He has this stocking matrix I want to use. We've got the house outline. We have matrix left, matrix right, mega tree, and mega star. We don't want the group, we want the model level. We want his P10. We want his whole house and whole house no yard. And that should do it. So again, I want whole house no yard at the top. Then I want whole house. And then just to keep it simple, I'm just going to keep all my groups and then my single elements here. Okay. So there we go. Now I'm going to save it. And now we'll map it over. Import effects. Navigate back to my Greatest Showman folder. Greatest Show. Alright, so I like to kind of start with the Greatest Show side and link everything I can. So whole house no yard, whole house, and then we've got arches, candy canes. He doesn't have any singing bulbs. And for singing bulbs, it's pretty easy. You know, just map those over to your singing bulbs, and there's really nothing else you have to do on the layout end. Just literally map. If you had a singing bulb 1, 2, 3, 4, just map Ethel, Fred, Lucy, and Ricky over, you know, to your 4, whatever, in whatever order you want. He doesn't have any floodlights. Matrix 1, so he does have 2 matrix here, so we'll do 1 as the left and 2 as the right. Megatree, and then and in this case I want to actually do the singing faces on his Megatree, not the Megatree 1 effects, the Megatree singing faces effects. And then we've got mini trees, which I'm gonna do on his trees and stars together. We've got his house outlines here. We've got a P10 here. We aren't doing any Singing Faces matrix on this house. He does have all snowflakes. And he has no spinner, but we have a mega tree star we gotta hit yet. So let's get the mega tree star in there. And let's see here, what else are we missing? Looks like I've got all of that stuff mapped, except for the stocking, the matrix stocking. And that's where you can kind of pick and choose whatever you'd like to go on that. I think in this case, I am going to choose, I think this is the stocking. Yep. So I think I'm going to choose the spinner effect on that. And it's just copying over all the effects from the spinner onto the stocking. So I think that'll work good. Okay. So I think we have everything mapped. We want to make sure we bring in all of our timing marks for Singing Faces as well. And let's go ahead and save this mapping so we don't lose it if we need to redo it. And okay. And there we go. Everything is loaded in. I'm going to collapse by double clicking on all of these timing lyric tracks. We have everything else in place, ready to go. So let's go ahead and save it, render it here, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, it looks like we're all rendered here. 148 seconds to save and render that. So let's skim through it here quick and see how it looks.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.
Okay, excellent. Everything looks really good. And it all mapped out how it should. And it's all layered appropriately, and the effects look very similar to all the other homes. So if your Singing Faces aren't showing up, the first place you're going to want to check is, the model itself. You're going to want to go into the Faces properties and make sure each character is, properly linked to the right file it should be associated with. Or link to your own files of your own images of different characters that you want to use for it. But as long as those are linked correctly and you imported the correct Singing Face Megatree or Singing Face Matrix from the demo sequence, then everything in here should line up perfectly for you. So that should do it. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do once you know how to do it. And thank you for watching, and thank you for participating in the xLights Around the World project. I really look forward to seeing how the sequence turns out on so many different homes and setups. It's very exciting. Thanks so much. Everyone take care.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for.